So God the Father chose to raise up people, humans, to recapture the world, if you would, to subdue the earth, to drive back the kingdom of darkness and death and replace it with light and life. And so he wanted an army raised up. He wanted the earth to be covered with people, his people, ideally. The only way that could happen is if there was a strong drive in man, in woman, that would bring about reproduction, bring about kids. Now, it is true that the sex drive serves for recreation, that is, recreation. You are refreshed, you are renewed in that act of marriage. But it is primarily designed for procreation. There are both aspects involved, but primarily it is part of procreation, that is, getting the world populated. I'm doing my part. Now, in order for procreation to take place, God the Father knew that he would have to put in a powerful drive inside man, or else men would go fishing. Or they'd be totally caught up in their business activities or their hobbies or what have you. God knew that. Isn't it interesting how this area of sex seems to be the universal common denominator among people? Some people like fishing, some like football, some like sewing, some like, but there's something in humanity that most people agree on that's pleasurable and enjoyable and special. And God knew it would take something that would cross over personality differences and different kinds of temperaments and different kinds of likes and dislikes, and he chose to embed within humanity a sex drive. Now here's where the challenge is. It's a strong, powerful drive. One wonders, well, even as Mark Twain wrote about quite commonly in his writings, why, God, if you put this drive in man, didn't you have a switch that would only be turned on when you're married, you see? Why do you have to wrestle with this drive when you're 12, 13, 14, and from there on? It doesn't make sense. If it's just for marriage, why do you allow us to struggle? And Mark Twain became quite bitter over that issue. In fact, as you read his later writings, he was bitter about a lot of things concerning God. Very cynical, sour individual. The answer is, partially, that such a powerful, strong drive that is not necessary for our personal survival, as is the food drive or the water drive or the air drive, that sex drive would give us opportunity like no other thing within us to learn how to overcome in prayer and fasting and wrestling with our flesh. That prepares us for the next billion years. It's important to see that. If you're single here tonight, if you're not married, and you're saying, well, how come I have this drive within me if it can't function outside of the boundaries of marriage? That doesn't seem fair. It's opportunity for you. It's a challenge for you. It's a great thing that you can train your spirit, your body, your soul, your mind, everything within you can be trained and prepared for the next trillion, zillion years. That's a tough thing to say, because you're saying, well, I don't care about the next trillion, zillion years when I'm out on that date. Well, the Lord is working, trying to get us to have an expanded perspective of where we're headed for. And so God designed this wonderful thing called sex and said, here's the way it works. If you violate these principles, you're going to get burned.